Have you ever felt like the fish have a stopwatch? You show up, you drill your hole or cast your line, and for about 15 glorious minutes, it's non-stop action. You're a hero. And then silence, complete and utter nothing. It's like every fish in a 100-yard radius got a text message to leave. What if I told you that stopwatch isn't held by the fish? It's in your hands. Today, we're going to expose the real reason why the bite dies exactly 15 minutes after you get comfortable, and I promise you it has nothing to do with luck. It's a pattern, and you are the one creating it. So let me ask you, do you think it's just a coincidence? Or have you secretly suspected you're doing something wrong all along? Let me know in the comments. This isn't some strange fishing mystery. It's one of the most common experiences for anglers, whether you're on the ice or the shore. For generations, we've blamed everything else. The weather changed, the barometric pressure dropped, the fish just moved on. We've been taught to accept it as a normal part of fishing. You get a quick flurry of activity, and then you have to wait it out or move. This belief is so ingrained that we don't even question our own actions. We set up our gear the same way, we sit in the same spot. We react to the first bite in the same way every single time. And in doing so, we repeat a cycle of mistakes that guarantees the spot will go cold. We're going to break that cycle right now. Let's start with what I call the initial impact. When you first arrive at your spot, you are the loudest thing that has happened there all day. Think about it. You're walking, your gear is clanking, you drop your tackle box, or your ice auger on the ground. Every single one of those sounds sends vibrations through the earth or the ice. To a fish, this is like a small earthquake. Now, this doesn't always scare them away immediately. In fact, for some fish, it creates curiosity. They wonder what the commotion is. This initial disturbance is the starting pistol for our 15-minute countdown. You've announced your presence to the entire underwater neighborhood, and the clock is now ticking. They know you're there. This leads directly into the honeymoon period. For the first 5 to 10 minutes after you settle down, the water goes quiet again. The curious and, more importantly, the most aggressive fish in the area come to investigate. These are the bold ones, the ones that are less cautious. They see your bait or lure, and since the immediate threat of your arrival has passed, they strike. This is that magical flurry of bites that gets your heart pumping. You catch one, maybe 2 or 3 in quick succession. You think you've found the motherlode. You believe your technique is perfect. But what's really happening is that you're just skimming the dumbest, most reckless fish off the top of the local population. Now let's talk about the first major mistake you make. You get comfortable. After landing a fish or 2, you sit down hard on your bucket or your tackle box. Thump. You decide you need a different lure, so you open the box. Snap. Clatter. You drop your pliers. Clink. You might not think these are loud noises, but you're not underwater. Sound travels over 4 times faster in water than in air. And vibrations through a solid, like the ground or ice, are even more potent. Every one of those small, seemingly insignificant sounds is a massive red flag to the remaining more cautious fish. They feel that thump, they feel that clatter, and they immediately associate it with danger. This brings us to the concept of the cone of silence, or in our case, the cone of noise. Imagine a circle around you, maybe 30 or 40 feet wide. Everything you do inside this circle is broadcasting a signal. When you shuffle your feet, you're sending out vibrations. When you rest your auger on the ice, it's humming. Even talking loudly can transmit through the ice. The fish that survived the initial honeymoon period are now on high alert. They've seen their buddies get yanked into the sky. They are now actively looking for any sign of danger, and you are providing it in spades with every little movement. You've gone from being a potential food source to being a confirmed threat. Let's move on to your hands. This is an invisible killer of a good fishing spot. What did you touch before you baited your hook? Did you put on bug spray or sunscreen back at the truck? Did you just have a cigarette? Did you eat a bag of greasy chips? Fish have an incredibly sensitive sense of smell, far better than a bloodhound's. Any unnatural chemical scent on your hands transfers directly to your bait or lure. When a wary fish approaches, it might see the bait, but then it smells something deeply wrong. It smells DEET or nicotine or some other chemical that absolutely does not belong in its world. That's an instant rejection. The fish turns away, and you're left wondering why it didn't bite. This problem gets even worse with what I call scent pollution. So you've been handling your bait, and your hands are a bit slimy. What's the natural thing to do? You swish them in the water right next to you. Or worse, you wash them in your ice hole. You have just dumped a concentrated cloud of human scent, sunscreen, and whatever else was on your skin directly on top of your fishing spot. You've effectively created a chemical barrier between you and the fish. Any fish approaching from down current or just swimming into that area will hit that wall of alien scent and immediately retreat. You've poisoned your own well, and you did it without even thinking. All right, let's look at the baiting strategy. During that initial hot streak, your confidence is high. Your logic is simple. They're biting, so I should give them more of what they want. This is when you start over-chumming or over-baiting. You toss in handfuls of corn or maggots, or you dump a pile of minnows right down the hole. In your mind, you're creating a buffet. In reality, you're often doing the opposite. You might be spooking the fish with a sudden rain of food from above, or you're giving them so many free, easy meals that they have no reason to bother with the one that has a sharp, dangerous hook in it. The bite stops not because the fish left, but because they're full and happy eating the free samples. Think about the visual aspect too. The fish that were not caught in the first wave are now the smart ones. I call them the educated fish. They literally just watched their companions violently disappear from the water. They saw the struggle, they felt the panic in the water. Now they see your line, they see your hook, they see the unnatural movement of your bait. Everything about your presentation is now under intense scrutiny. Before, the aggressive fish didn't care, but these educated fish are looking for any reason not to bite. Your line might be too thick, your sinker might be too big, your jigging action might be too frantic. You're no longer fishing for the easy ones, you're trying to fool the survivors. Let's put all this together into a timeline. Minute 1 to 5, you arrive and make a lot of noise. The fish are alerted. Minute 5 to 15, the dumbest and bravest fish in the area cautiously move in and bite. You're catching fish. During this time, you're getting fidgety, you're making small noises, you're rebaiting with contaminated hands, and maybe you're throwing in too much chum. Minute 16, the honeymoon is over. The aggressive fish are gone. The remaining cautious fish have now been bombarded with negative signals, threatening vibrations, unnatural smells, and the visual trauma of seeing other fish get caught. The spot is now dead, not because the fish left, but because you taught them to stay away. So, the 15-minute rule isn't a rule of nature. It's the average time it takes for an angler's cascade of errors to take full effect. It's the tipping point, the point where the negative signals you're sending out finally outweigh the fish's instinct to feed. It's a self-inflicted wound. The most frustrating part is that it feels like the fish are to blame. But the reality is, we are the architects of our own failure. We create the conditions that shut the bite down. Then we sit there wondering what went wrong with the fish. The problem isn't in the water, it's on the ice or on the bank. Let's talk about breaking the cycle, starting with sound. From the moment you leave your vehicle, you need to think like a hunter. Move slowly and deliberately. Place your gear down gently, don't drop it. When you drill a hole in the ice, try not to let the auger slam down at the end. Once you are set up, minimize your movement. Don't shuffle your feet. Don't constantly open and close your tackle box. Sit still. Imagine that any sound you make is a pebble dropping into a quiet pond. The ripples will eventually reach the fish. Your goal is to be a part of the natural environment, not an intruder in it. Now let's fix the scent problem. This is simple, but it requires discipline. Before you go fishing, wash your hands with an unscented soap. Avoid using scented lotions, bug sprays with DEET, or heavy sunscreens if you can. If you smoke, wear a glove on one hand for your cigarette and use the other hand exclusively for baiting. A fantastic trick is to use the natural environment to your advantage. Rub your hands in the dirt or mud from the shoreline. Or if you catch a fish, rub your hands on its slime. This covers your human scent with a natural, attractive smell. Never, ever wash your hands in the water where you are fishing. We also need to rethink our baiting strategy. Instead of reacting to a hot bite by dumping in a ton of food, be more strategic. Start with a very small amount of chum, just enough to get them interested. A dozen maggots, not 100. A pinch of corn, not a handful. This creates competition. The fish have to compete for a limited resource, which makes them more aggressive and more likely to make a mistake, like grabbing your hooked bait. If the bite slows down, add another tiny pinch. You are teasing them and keeping them engaged, not feeding them a full Thanksgiving dinner. Less is almost always more. Consider the pressure you're putting on the fish. Every fish you catch and fight puts stress on the entire school. They can sense the panic. So, when you hook a fish, try to land it as quickly and efficiently as possible. Don't play it out forever right on top of your spot. If you can, lead it away from the main area before you bring it up. This minimizes the disturbance to the other fish that are still there. The less chaos you create during the fight, the longer the other fish will stick around and feel safe enough to continue feeding. A clean fight is a quiet fight. Let's also examine your equipment. Are you using the lightest line possible for the species you're targeting? Is your hook as small as you can get away with? Are you using minimal weight? The educated fish, the ones that are left after the first 15 minutes, are looking at every detail. A thick, visible line is a dead giveaway. A huge hook looks unnatural. A heavy sinker splashing down is another loud alarm bell. Downsizing your entire presentation can be the single most effective way to trick these wary, late-game fish. Go into stealth mode with your gear. Another crucial factor is your shadow. This is especially true in clear or shallow water or on a sunny day on the ice. Fish are very aware of threats from above. A large, dark shadow passing over them is a universal danger signal that screams bird of prey or predator. Be mindful of where the sun is. Try to position yourself so that your shadow doesn't fall directly over where you are fishing. Sometimes simply moving a few feet to the side can be the difference between spooking every fish in the area and having them never even know you're there. Don't be the dark monster from the sky. Here's a mental shift you need to make. Stop thinking of yourself as someone who is just fishing. Start thinking of yourself as a predator who is actively hunting. A successful predator is patient, quiet, and aware of its impact on the environment. It doesn't make unnecessary noise. It doesn't pollute the area with foreign smells. It doesn't just show up and expect the prey to be stupid. By adopting this hunter's mindset, you will naturally start to correct all of the mistakes we've been talking about. Your movements will become more deliberate and your actions more strategic. Now, what if you've already made these mistakes? What if you're sitting there and the spot has gone dead? Is it over? Not necessarily. Sometimes the best thing you can do is force a reset. Get up quietly and walk away for 10 or 15 minutes. Let the area calm down, let your scent dissipate. When you return, be 10 times quieter than you were before. You can also try a radical change in presentation. If you were using live bait, switch to a small, subtle lure. If you were being aggressive, try dead sticking. This can sometimes trigger a bite from fish that had become wise to your first approach. Let's re-examine the educated fish. They are not impossible to catch, they just require a different approach. They've learned from your initial clumsy presentation. This is your chance to show them something new. Change your bait color, change the depth you're fishing at. Most importantly, slow down. A very slow, subtle presentation often works best on pressured fish. They've seen aggression and it's spooked them. Now you need to appeal to their curiosity without setting off their alarm bells. It's a game of chess and your first 15 minutes was just the opening move. The real fishing starts now. So, the final truth is this: the 15-minute clock is entirely your own creation. Fish don't just turn off. We turn them off with our noise, our scent, our shadows, and our pressure. The good news is that you have complete control over this. By being mindful from the moment you step out of your truck, by treating the fishing spot with respect, and by thinking like a hunter, you can break the 15-minute curse. You can extend that initial hot bite into a steady, productive day. The fish were there all along. You just have to learn how not to scare them away. So there you have it. The big secret isn't a secret at all. The reason the fish stop biting after 15 minutes is you. It's the sound of you setting up, the scent on your hands, the shadow you cast, and the pressure you put on them. That initial flurry of action isn't the start of a great day. It's you catching the dumbest fish before you scare off all the smart ones. The real turning point, the idea that should change your entire approach, is realizing that fishing doesn't start when your line hits the water. It starts the second you step out of your car. Every action from that point on determines whether you'll have a 15-minute hot streak or a whole day of catching fish. Thank you so much for watching. If this video opened your eyes and made you rethink your own habits, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more content that cuts through the old myths. Now, I want to hear from you. What is the one mistake from this list that you know you are guilty of making on almost every trip? Be honest. Let's discuss it in the comments below.